This is a meeting of the Finance Committee of the Holyoke City Council, and Councilor Jordan is president, Councilor Devine is president, Councilor Givner is president, and what a promotion you got. And Councilor Ocasio is also present, and Councilor Bartley is in the audience, and I don't see anybody else on Zoom. So, Maria, if you want to come in. First of all, item 1, the minutes of the August 12th, 2024 meeting.
Motion to receive and adopt.
And I only found one problem, a misspelling on, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, page 6, where it says Councilor MAGRATH-SMITH stated that it included Alta Street, Cedar Hill Road, Curran Lane, Dingle Road, Old Bassett Road, Oscar Street. It should be Owens Place, O-W-E-N-S. So that's the only change that I would see.
I'll make a second to your motion to update and amend that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so moved. And then the item number 2, filed by MAGRATH-SMITH and Devine, ordered that the library director and financial manager come into the city council to provide an update concerning how the library is responding to the fees associated with the tax exemption issue and the potential impact to services. Move we take that off the table for discussion.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Could I make one
Yes,
suggestion, though,
please.
that we take a vote to adopt the minutes?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Motion to adopt item 1, the minutes as you amended it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You're all set.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Is the green light on?
Yes.
Yep, as long as the green light's on.
Well, once again, thank you for having me. Last time I was here, we told you that the library was taking care of all the financial piece that was in order to get the status back. We were expecting to get it by the end of this year, sometime in December. We got it by the end of June.
Okay.
So we already are back into being full tax exempt. I did send an email as soon as I found out that we got the status back to Megan and Divine. I still don't have probably your
You got an
email
old
address.
email address. I will write it down for you before you leave.
I think it's Comcast, the one that I have or something.
It's pdevine523@comcast.net.
I don't know if it's that one, but I know it bounced back. So,
Yeah, so it's probably a
I apologize for you not getting that memo.
Right, okay.
So everything is already taken care of. Everything is back in order. We are back into full tax exempt, just as in 1967, and
Okay.
I think everything is working out fine.
I think I remember reading something, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. They didn't give you any fees?
Oh no, there was a
fee?
Well, the fee was more for the accountant to review the 990s that we had. They were just not filed, but we had them already, and the lawyers that deal with IRS in order to get it back. Okay. So all that was taken care of. The city didn't have to pay 1 penny.
Okay.
That was all the corporation.
Okay, so Library Corporation.
The Library Corporation is the one that paid for all the fees associated with getting the status back and doing all the filing that we needed to do.
Okay,
And
great.
get everything back up to date.
Okay. And questions?
Just a quick one. Turn my microphone on first. Periodically, Maria, does the corporation ever put out there like the quantity of donations that they receive or any of that type of information periodically? Like this year we raised $100,000 or this year we raised
When
50
we do
grand.
100,000, yeah, that's something big to celebrate.
I don't know
We do have newsletter,
Okay.
Regular newsletter that we sent where we kind of thank the people who donated. One of the big things that I was so thrilled when that happened, when we lost the status, we were in the process of doing the mini golf. That's kind of our biggest fundraising. And we had to notify the donors that, we lost the status of tax exempt. If you want your money back, we'll give it back to you. Everybody said keep it.
Right.
And we were
Good.
able to do the
Good,
mini
good,
goals.
good.
But then we did not do it as a fundraiser. We did it
Okay.
as a program. So the
Okay.
donors were sponsors of the program.
Ballpark, and again, it's an average. How much would you say the corporation raises in private donations in the course of a
Not
year?
enough. We should be.
Good answer.
Well, because we should be a little more aggressive in fundraising. All our services are free, and everything that we try to do for the community is free. And most of the expenses are being paid by half from the city and
Right.
the other one from the private. But one thing that I was told many years ago, and I regret not putting the value of the programs that we do, because I was told everything that you give out for free, you should give it a value, even if it's $1,
Sure.
because people don't appreciate free. Everybody wants free, but it's not valued that they will take advantage or in the opportunity to use it or go to our programs, use our resources, because it's free, right? But if you put a value, it's like this is how much you would have to pay if you were going to subscribe to that program, or if you were going to take your child to a movie. This is how much it would pay. We're doing movies for free for the kids. If you want to do not credit but online courses, this is how much you would pay. We're giving it to you for free.
Right.
And that's one thing that probably the services and programs that we have, along with the resources, they're not used the way that they should because it doesn't have a value sign on it.
I'm not questioning the quantity of services you're providing,
No,
which
but-
is
but it
ample.
should be-
I'm talking about how
The-
many checks, how much in like cash does the corporation raise in donations per year?
How much was it? This is Alexandra Aguirre. She's our new financial manager.
Nice
she
to
just
meet
started
you.
with us November of 2023. And just today, she was doing the report for tomorrow's monthly meeting with the board.
Okay.
And we don't raise that much for what you have noticed, right? You can stand up.
Yeah, you can come on in if you'd like and have a seat and just, Counselor Bartley can show you the microphone where to.
Yeah, because she has a very low voice, so she'll need definitely the microphone.
Oh, thank you. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
So the library mostly have one major fundraising event during the year. That is the mini golf. And so that event is the majority of our funds. This past year, as Maria said, we received the sponsorship, that it was not really returned to the donors, even they knew that we didn't have the status. So we were in the ballpark, $7,000.
$7,000. Okay.
So we have some donations here and there,
Okay.
like around the year,
Okay.
more like $20,000.
$20,000 overall for the course of a year. Okay. And quick question, does the corporation still has an endowment left? I know they were quite generous at the time that we built the new library, and the benefactors and who had run the corporation gave quite a bit of it to help us with building the new library. Approximately how much does that generate a year now, the endowment itself? And if you don't know the answers to these questions, maybe you can just take the questions back and get back to us at another time. Maybe I'm putting you on the spot, but I'm just kind of curious. I haven't asked these questions in quite a long time. I didn't, not since really the library was built, but I'm just kind of curious since you're here and you're the financial manager. I was just kind of curious what kind of amount of income per year that might generate in interest income or investment income.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to answer you in an email. But I can tell you I can take the opportunity to tell you that I don't know how much it generates, but I can tell you how much we were able to get from the endowment to supplement our expenses.
Okay.
So that is around $300,000.
That's substantial.
But
Wow.
even with that, even with that, we are we are in the belly button. You know, that is what really we need to commit every year.
Right, right.
So it's not really like, you know, after receiving the
Okay.
funds, we have a income.
Well, maybe, how about this? We'll wrap up because I know we have other items, but maybe if you could send a report, like how much is in the, you know, the endowment, you know, ask them what's the total assets, and then looks like they're giving you about 300,000 a year.
Yeah.
And then, you know, what does that generate in income? You know, I'm kind of curious because that was started like 100 years ago, you know, so by a lot of really wealthy benefactors. A lot of people don't realize that. That was not the city that started the library. That was a bunch of rich, affluent mill owners that kind of got together and put the money together for the original endowment to build the original, 1904 building, I think, was there. But thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And if you, when you do this report, just send it to the city clerk, and she can put it on our agenda as a communication.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
And Councilor Bartley?
Well, just through the chair, I just want to follow up on what Chairman Devine just said, because I don't know if, and maybe it's just a question for Kevin or for Patty, because is the endowment, is that a private nonprofit? It is. Okay, so I'm just wondering, should that be sent maybe as just a private communication to Jeff, and then because I don't know if that's I don't know if that's Patty. I don't know if that's public information.
I agree.
Well, okay, but I would like to know, and I don't want to say anything that's I mean, I'm all for putting things in the public domain, but if that's a private nonprofit corporation, then I don't really see the reason why we would send that to the clerk. But I would certainly think it'd be fair for city councilors to have it, and maybe we look at an executive session or something along those lines. So I'd be curious, and then just as a final point, I'm glad you're both here, and congratulations on the new job, and Maria, I'm glad you're here as well, and your continuity is vital, because with all the turnover that all happens, to have you stay in that, you know, steering that ship for so many years is very important I think to the city, and we know at some point you're going to have to transition out, like we all are. So, I mean, hopefully it's not too soon. But like you and Mr. Conti and you and Mr. Conti and Mr. Lavelle. I don't want to lose you yet, but I would be very curious as to the
Maybe
as to how what those balances are and how you generate income, and just from my own knowledge, and maybe there's something on our end that we can learn from that.
Do you think it will be important that our president will be involved in this?
No, I'll send it to Patty.
Maria knows what we're looking for.
Yeah, because
We'll do it. We'll send it to Patty, and then she can share that with
finance.
Patty will share.
with the finance, and then anybody else like David and any.
And
of the others.
you could certainly ask, I'm sure you have attorneys on the endowment fund and everything that would be able to answer that question, whether or not that's private information. I think Councilor Bartley raised a good point. So we will okay this order that you were good enough to come in, both of you. Nice to meet you. And we'll go from there. So thank you.
So you'll get the information soon.
Oh, and here, when you leave, could you just, that's my correct email, okay? Okay, thank you. Nice to meet you.
Take care.
Okay, entertain a motion.
Motion item 2's been complied with.
All those in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
I did want to mention also that Councilor Sullivan had another commitment tonight, and that's why he's not here.
Motion to take up item 2.
Item number 3, ordered by MAGRATH-SMITH, ordered that there be and hereby appropriated by transfer fiscal year 2025, $111,000 and as follows from capital stabilization, $111,000, to highways, repair and maintenance of streets and fixtures, $111,000. Move we take it off the table for discussion. I received a call from the mayor today, and he'd like that to go back to the auditor.
Oh, really?
And he's going to talk to the interim engineer and try to put something together for the streets that need repairs and things.
Okay.
So if I can entertain a motion to...
Motion to return to the auditor?
So all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved, okay. The next one is item number 4. Rory, do you have your hand up? Rory Casey? Oh, thank you. I'm getting a mouse the next time. Never mind, Rory. Okay, we'll take up item number 4 by Murphy-Romboletti. Order that the City Council invite the Mayor, Police Department, and relevant financial department heads to a future meeting of the Finance Committee to provide an update on the status of the off-duty police account and former vendor off-duty blue. Motion to take it off the table.
So moved.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
The mayor did call me on this, and he's at school committee tonight, so he won't be here, but I see Rory is here. Rory, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I mean, is there anybody, I apologize, I'm not there in person, but I wasn't not able to be there this evening.
It's okay.
But this has been on the agenda for a while. I can provide a little bit of background. I think and obviously if the auditor or if anybody from the police department were there, I would defer to them first.
I don't see them here.
There are 2 members there. I've been trying to
But if
bring
not,
them
I can
list.
provide a little bit of background here and
I'm sorry, I see Rory Casey here. And
Yeah, so Captain Cruz and Sergeant Zerhide are both there. I've been trying to invite them in as panelists, and they just haven't been accepting.
Okay. Can they hear us, though?
Yeah, they should be able to
Okay.
hear you.
All right, so,
well, just to move things along, can you guys hear me all right?
yes?
Okay, so we should be able to go through this relatively quickly.
Okay.
You know, as folks know, the off-duty account
Okay. Thank you.
is an account that has run in deficits in the past. There's been a lot of history here. You know, about 18 months back, we met with the council to discuss the account. Things were heading in the right direction. At the same time, the police department had engaged with a new vendor that is kind of a third-party administrator, if you will. They're the ones that handle the invoicing and collection of the off-duty. So these are road jobs, right? We were growing concerned with the vendor that the police department had. We were very open with the police department about this. The mayor asked Council President Murphy-Romboletti to file this order just so we could keep the council up to date on some of the concerns we had. Basically, at that moment in time, we were locked in with that vendor for about 12 months, and we were not getting reporting. We were not getting the data that we needed. It was unclear if money we were receiving tied out to anything on their end. In the time since, the police department moved forward and canceled that contract, and they re-engaged with a former vendor that they had been using. And I'm happy to report that the working relationship we have now with the vendor called Roll Call is much better. We are in a much better place than we were with Off-Duty Blue. We just think that that vendor, the size of work that the city was providing might have been too much for that vendor. And they just were not able to accommodate all the, you know, ebbs and flows of money needing to invoice and collect. So I think the spirit of this order really was to get out in front of any potential issues with off-duty blue, to let the council know that this is something that we wanted to discuss. But now that that police department signed a new contract, we've had roll call back in place for the past 6 months, and they are sending us weekly deposit reports, weekly deposits, and it is a far better working experience with this current vendor. And so that was the genesis of the order and what brought us here today.
Okay. Counselor, Acting Chief Cruz, do you want to add anything?
You're on mute, Chief.
You're on mute.
We can see him. I can't.
Yeah, we can see him here, but he's on mute. Not here. See, on this,
Yeah, this
it's
one,
not.
this one.
Jeff, could you,
Can we unmute him?
I don't have the ability to unmute another
Okay.
device.
okay. Chief, can you hear us?
He's trying to unmute.
I think he's trying to unmute.
Maybe he should exit and come back in.
Okay. Chief, if you can hear us, a suggestion was made that maybe you should exit and then come back on, and that might alleviate the problem. Oh, there you are. Oh,
can you
okay.
hear me?
Yep, right there. Don't move.
All right.
Go ahead.
All right, well, I can't see you now. I don't know what I did. But however, like Rory was saying, we started with off-duty blue, and it just wasn't working. Well, actually, we had roll call first. We thought we had some issues with roll call. We went to off-duty blue. We realized it got worse. We went back to roll call, and now I'm happy with roll call. I have no complaints from anybody within the department. I'm looking at my sheets. I know that 120,000 is still owed by off-duty blue. They've paid the city about $1.2 million, and we still have pending payments of $51,000. This is from off-duty blue. Roll call's been much better, more transparent. You see the numbers, and I think we should just stay with roll call because we went to roll call, off-duty blue, back to roll call. So we should have not went to off-duty blue in the first place. I don't know why we did. If it wasn't broke, we should not fix it. But now we're back to roll call, and I'm happy with roll call, and I think they're more transparent in terms of the money. I have the printout, if you guys would like that.
Yes, I think that's a good idea to give us the printout. You could email it to Jeffrey, and Jeffrey can parse that out to us.
Okay. There, I can see myself now. I'm learning this stuff, so bear with me.
There you are.
So basically I have the printout, I have the invoices, I have everything you need, and we can compare the differences between the two, out-duty blue and roll call. But I can assure you we're much happier right now with roll call. We should stay with them.
Okay. Counselor Givner has a question, but before she goes, can you repeat the part about off-duty blue owed you $120,000?
Right. So according to the what I printed out today with my IT guys, they still owe us $120,238.91 as of today. And this printout will give you who owes us.
Okay.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
They did pay $1.2 million, but they still owe us $120,000.
Okay.
And it's a combination of a lot of vendors that still owe us, including certain city vendors.
Okay. Counselor Givner? Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just a question for Acting Chief Cruz or our treasurer. Can you put in layman's terms what these vendors are? Because I've never heard of them before, really. And I think a lot of people probably don't know anything about this. I have no understanding of why they owe us money. So just a quick breakdown of why we need this vendor at all would be helpful, I think. Definitely to me and probably to the public.
Rory, you want to go or you want me to go?
You can go, Chief.
So as I'm looking at the list here, from A to pretty much Z, probably about over 100 vendors. So, for example, I'm looking at Belchertown High School.
Oh, Chief, I apologize. I don't mean to cut you off. I think the council doesn't, we could go through the list of the vendors, but I think they mean the relationship with off-duty blue and roll call, and why is it that we have somebody doing the road jobs and all of that work.
They bill it out for us.
Yeah.
Okay, so we used to go after the vendor, and then that changed. So I don't know how the city wants to go forward. You know, it's been changing back and forth, and then we're now back to roll call again. And so the vendor, the way my notes say, the vendor pays off-duty blue pays the city. And I believe that's how roll call is working now. The roll call gets the money from the vendor and then they pay the city. That's how it is with roll call now. Off-duty blue was a little different. Do you understand what I mean? Like roll call right now.
I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're talking about at all. I don't know what the vendors are, why we have vendors. I don't understand what this is about.
Yeah, I'll walk you through it. I'll walk you through it real quick. It's in its simplest form. The city, as the chief mentioned, made a decision a few years back to outsource a certain part of booking off-duty jobs, meaning you drive down the street and you see a cop, police officer directing traffic because there's construction work going on. Maybe there's a road race, parade weekend, you know, different types of events where folks are required to hire a police officer off duty. What we do is we work with this vendor. They help facilitate that. So I'm a construction company and I need to pull a permit to open the road to do some work in front of someone's house. I need to hire a police officer to do that. I reach out to this vendor, which is now roll call, and I say, KC Construction needs 2 police officers and a car from this time to this time on this day because I was told that's what I need to do. I get invoiced by roll call, or I set up a payment portal through them. I pay them, and then they, in turn, reimburse the city. They pay the city. We charge a 10% administrative fee. 5% of that administrative fee comes back to the city, and 5%, the other half of that administrative fee goes to the vendor, in this case, roll call or off-duty blue. So that is it in its simplest form. The issue is that when these officers work those details, we are required to pay them for the work that they performed, which creates a deficit. Until we receive the money back from the vendor, in this case, roll call, who we currently have a relationship with. They're the ones that are collecting on that. The issue, does that make sense?
Yeah, that's really helpful. So basically, off-duty blue isn't paying, they're getting paid and they're not paying us.
Correct.
Thank you.
Or they're not getting paid, and that's where some of the issue is that if they've booked the job and
they're not collecting, then they're not paying it. Gotcha.
Casey Construction will always pay, but maybe, somebody else doesn't.
Right.
That's where there becomes an issue. And so we've been tackling this on two fronts. We have engaged with our law department. Solicitor Ball has been the one leading this effort to make sure that any historic debts are settled, and she has done a great job of collecting on that. And at the same time, holding off-duty Blue, the former vendor, the third-party kind of administrator here, to say, you're not giving us what you need. Don't just tell us the check's in the mail. Don't send us a payment of $250,000 without any kind of backup with what that is. And so she's really held their feet to the fire. When this order was originally filed, we were very concerned that this deficit was going to balloon in the high six figures. And as the chief mentioned, it's shrunk down far below that. And what we're actually seeing in the accounts, what we're seeing now with the new vendor, is that work is being performed and we're paying out that payroll, and that on a regular basis, every couple of weeks, we're getting those deposits put back into the bank account, and our auditor's office and our payroll departments are getting the reports that they need in order to make sure that if Officer Smith got paid out for 4 hours of work, that we've collected 4 hours worth of pay back from whomever hired them. And so we're in a much better position now than we were when this order was originally filed.
Thank you. That was very helpful.
I agree, Rory. Thank you.
Counselor Bartley?
Yeah, so thank you, Madam Chair. I have numerous questions, and I'll say some things that'll hopefully enlighten the public. So 7 years ago, we had over a $1 million debt that the city taxpayers had to eat because of the incompetence of the vendor and HPD and others to collect the funds for detail jobs. This is the only thing in the city government. And we got bailed out because of ARPA funds. That was complete negligence from the city of Holyoke and HPD and this convoluted, bizarre system. Let me tell you why. We do the work. We expect to get paid. We've said in this body for years, Captain, we know what work wants to be done. We get the money first, and then we pay the officers so the city taxpayers aren't holding the bag. But it seems like that never penetrated anybody's ears. Do you not, and whether you recall it or not, it doesn't matter. There was over $1 million that HPD, we paid out for detail jobs, got stuck with the bill because the so-called vendors didn't pay. That is still unbelievably still going on. That game has got to end. I'm going to file an order that we terminate all detail jobs until that is rectified the way we said it would be rectified 8 years ago. That just blows my mind. And now you're patting yourselves on the back to say, hey, this is great. This isn't great. So let me point out a couple things to you and to Mr. Casey. First of all, who approved the contract with roll call? I never saw it. So where's the contract? That is a city council duty to present that. Where is the contract, Captain? Or Mr. Casey?
I wasn't involved in the on that contract, so I can't explain that. That was under Chief.
And it's
that contract is Mr. Casey. That contract is Mr. Casey. That contract is subject to city council approval. There's irrefutable.
I'm not disagreeing, Councilor. I'm certainly not disagreeing with you. You asked if I had, and along with the captain, we were not involved in this execution of the contract. We can certainly forward it to you.
Okay.
I was not involved in it. Yeah.
So, Mr. Casey,
We share your frustrations. I will tell you that much right now.
No, my frustration is my own. I'll just internalize it. Don't share my frustration. Believe me, you don't want to go there.
Okay.
So what I really don't understand is how this perpetuates annually. Put that to the side. Get us the contract, and I really want to see how it was signed without city council approval. So perhaps Attorney Ball, who you just praised, can enlighten us how that could possibly have happened. But apparently it did, so get us the contract. That's one. Number two, relative to this thing, Mr. Casey, where we continually pay in advance and then we anticipate a check later on. How in the world does anyone think that makes sense? So to my friend, Councilor Gibner, detailed jobs are simply this. They could be road jobs, they could be security jobs, it could be anything. The Holyoke Parade Committee, perfect example. Never mind Casey Construction. Let's go to the real world. Holyoke Parade Committee, year after year after year, does this. They collect millions and tens of thousands of donations. They know they need security all over the place. They pay the city of Holyoke. Maybe that's one example where we could wait for the payment to come in. Meanwhile, we have these tons of other private contractors around the city, not the gas and electric, not the waterworks. They're honorable. They will pay.
Yeah, ISO New England's a big one.
The veteran, ISO, they expect HPD to provide security services. But for some bizarre reason, we don't collect the money from them in advance. We just go out in our goodwill, provide the security. We pay the officers, and then we hope that the money comes in. This is how the $1 million thing, the $1 million deficit happened in 2017, 2018. That got paid out of the goodness of the federal taxpayers. So we were able to whittle that down. But yet, and we said at the time, is this going to happen? No, it won't happen anymore. Well, clearly it's still happening. Isn't that amazing? Okay, and I'm glad we have this roll call as opposed to Act Blue. Gentlemen, this is amazing. So relative to, let me just go back to Captain Cruz. You said $120,238 is owed to us from off-duty blue.
Off-duty blue.
Okay. Is that money that the vendors have paid them and they haven't returned that money to the city?
No, the vendors have not paid them yet. So they, like you said, the vendors have to pay them and then they pay us.
Right.
That's
okay.
Off-duty blue. That's not happening right.
So Captain, I can't wait to file my order for the next meeting to say all this stops until you guys figure out that these vendors are taking us for a ride and they're looking at us as patsies. How in the world have you not figured this out after all these years is mind-blowing. But you guys don't care because you get paid anyhow. You guys are going to get your money, but the taxpayers be damned. That don't cut it. And it's been going on for 10 years, and don't pretend you don't know about it. Because that's unbelievable that this is still happening. It's unreal. So in terms of the 120,000, I'm sure we'll get some kind of report from the city solicitor relative to 120,000. You said 1.2 million is paid. That was due. So I'm not the other number you threw out was a 51,000 is pending. What did that mean?
Well, I'm looking at the notes, and that's what I got. I guess they're like, I'd have to sit down with you and show you these who owes us. There's a bunch of people that owe us, and let's just start with the beginning. I was not involved with any of this prior to that. You said this has been going on for 10 years. I was not involved in any of this for the last 10 years until just recently when I was asked to look into this through a city council thingy that I saw the other day. So I'm new to all this. I was a patrol supervisor in operations. I was not in management. I just became a management person on August 1st. So when you say it's been going on for 10 years, I don't know anything about that because I wasn't involved with that. I am an operations commander down in the infantry, is how I call it. So I was not involved with this. I'm learning this as of the last couple days.
Captain, when I say you, I didn't mean you, Captain Isaiah Cruz. I meant you, the HPD. I should have clarified that, and I apologize if I offended anybody. But clearly we've had veteran officers in management in HPD. We've had veteran officials in city government that should know better, and for some reason it's not happening. I say one of the places we could start is maybe going through regular process to have the city council approve contracts. This should not be a novel comment. That is pretty standard, and yet it doesn't happen. Time and again, it doesn't happen. I'm not getting it, but Mr. Casey, and I'm sure Ms. Ball and Mrs. Ball, and I'm sure you, Captain Cruz, Acting Chief Cruz, will somehow become the ones that will rectify all this. Madam Chair, I really appreciate your patience. One last thing, just in terms of going forward, and I'm not kidding, I'm going to file it. Why, if that doesn't pass, why would we think that this current system would work going forward? In other words, we send the uniformed officers out there. Do we just keep our fingers crossed that we're going to get paid? Whereas other entities and other parts of the economy would say usually they get their money first, and then once they have their money, and I like the fact that Mr. Casey said there's a 10% admin fee that we share with the vendor. That's great. So doesn't seem like, it seems like it's a good deal. The real gap in this thing is the fact that certain of these vendors, and I would like to know who the vendors are, specifically named vendors. I mean, look, I got shamed by the mayor for one day being late with my taxes. Okay, that was on me. I was one day late with my taxes, and I got shamed. Okay, I took it, but I paid my taxes. But I'd like to know who the vendors are that are owing the city of Holyoke, specifically their names, and then maybe the mayor can get them posted somewhere about how much money they owe the city for weeks, if not months, if not years. So he can call me out for a day. Okay, fine. I took it. I took it. That's okay. But I will say that we need to know the names of these vendors. But my last question is, why do we think that that this is a good system going forward? Why don't we get the money in advance, pay the police, and then everybody, then we know the city's going to be even? Is that something that you think you could effectuate?
Of course, we can sit down and do it. I mean, like I said, this is the first time I've ever had to deal with this. I didn't know any of this was going on until you mentioned it. I've only been on for a little bit, and I have no problem trying to, set up a new contract. I have no problem with that. And if you want the vendors, I got a whole list of vendors in front of me that I can email you.
If you would email Mr. Jeffrey Anderson Burgos, that would be perfect.
I will.
Thank you.
And Councilor Givner had, and then Councilor Jordan.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Just a follow-up comment, I guess, or question is, I guess I just wonder why we need this middleman, and if it's off-duty work, why a vendor like Roll Call doesn't just hire people and pay them themselves. I'm curious as to what the city has to do with any of this if this is off-duty work, because you're not working for the city at that time, you're working for a private company. So I guess I would just be curious about that and moving forward, and if there are discussions about like a different type of system, I'd wonder why we have to be involved with it at all.
Do you know the answer?
I think I do.
Councilor Jordan,
I'll take a shot at it. It's a great question because I think the answer of why we started getting involved with vendors is because this, by the way, this has been a problem for more than 10 years. I remember way back when we had to, I want to say maybe 20 years ago actually, or almost 20 years ago, we had to pay $200,000, which at the time we thought was an enormous sum of money. And the answer at the time was we would do this itself. They would assign basically internal people at the HPD was serving as their own collection agency effectively. And this was not with a vendor. It was people in-house doing the work. And as it turned out, we were owed a ton of money, 200 grand at the time. And people were like, what's going on? Oh, and then you'd hear an array of, stories. Basically, this one hired us and they went out of business. This one hired us, can't get a hold of anybody. Blah, 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 blah. It goes down the line. So about 10 years ago, and oh, by the way, not required, just so we're all clear, not required to pay the officer until we collect the money. But we do, because we don't want to see them getting shortchanged the money. But one of the concerns in the old system was, is there really an incentive to collect? Because at the end of the day, the city's left holding the bag. All the employees are getting paid, but if we collect, we collect. If we don't collect, oh, well, too bad for you. So then it went to a vendor, and they've been doing that, which is kind of interesting that I'm assuming there's reasons we wanted to get rid of roll call, because we heard negative about roll call, and then they went to off-duty blue, and now they're saying, oh my God, off-duty blue is no good. They're even worse, and now we're back to the people that we didn't think were doing a good job. So now we're back with them. So I'm kind of curious how I don't know if there's a third vendor. I mean, at some point, I think we probably need to have a deeper conversation. We should probably table this and have some folks in and have it's good for counselors to be generally aware of this, because it is a weakness in our system. From an accounting perspective, I would call it material weakness. It's, we're at the end of the day, and I was not aware of the $1 million hit. That was actually, must have been after I left. Yeah, okay, my interregnum. But anyways, yeah, from the Latin, yeah, between my terms. And so anyways, it looks like ARPA bailed us out. But of course, we all know it's not really bailing us out, because we got $39 million, and that's $1 million we could have used ARPA for other things, right? So anyways, very interesting to see where this is all at. It's very concerning that we're still 120 short. Number two, I would say one of the things that we had a conversation was that if you were a non-payer, and at this point, I mean, how many unique new people could be doing work for us? I don't know. I mean, we're a pretty established operation here, but it was supposed to be, if you didn't pay, you had to pay up front before you ever got services again. So that, it's like, okay, you order the services, we bill you, you pay us. Okay, you paid us, you've got a good credit. But if you didn't pay us, like, you're not getting services again until you pay us. And then it's going to be once bitten, twice shy at that point. Then it's going to be, you got to pay in advance if you want to order services. Is that actually happening? That'll be one of my questions when we get together. But very good question, Counselor Givner.
Go ahead, Counselor Givner.
I would just, as a last comment, say that in this day and age, there's really no reason why things shouldn't be paid in advance. I mean, I can't get anything done without paying a half deposit on any kind of work you do on property or for contracts of any sort. So it's really just hard for me to understand, like, okay, maybe there's been problems in the past. I mean, we just updated our payment systems around here. So, like, before you couldn't even pay like a tax bill online through the city. But as things are automated and we're actually entering this century as a city and with our city systems, we shouldn't be able to get stuck with any bills, because it should be possible. So I do see Attorney Bissonnette's hand up, Madam Chair.
Okay, before Counselor Bartley's question, Counselor Bissonnette has his hand up. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Just wanted to note that in discussing this with Attorney Ball, one of the problems was some of the entities and individuals, particularly with nonprofits doing charity type fundraisers, they didn't provide any security or pay up front. So now these types of people seeking off-duty police are required to furnish a credit or debit card. So there is some security to make sure that the city is made whole. And that's been a step towards, collecting some of the money that was owed. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, this is just a comment. I want to just address the chair on this one because one of the things, Madam Chair, that we ought to consider, and I hope the new chief and the acting chief will consider, is that these officers, patrolmen, they're working detail jobs now, 4 hours, 8 hours. Okay, are they taking this away from their regular patrol work, Madam Chair? Furthermore, if they're out, if we're in a short staffed to cover their shift, are we having to pay other patrolmen overtime to cover those shifts? Is again, just you know, Madam Chair, you're on top of all this stuff, and I don't want to let that thought kind of be put, you know, forgotten.
Right.
So these are Holyoke police officers, not auxiliary, because generally the police officers take the detail gigs because they're good paying gigs with not a lot of stress. I mean, a lot of times they're standing right there. I'm not going to say anything. I know I've seen it, just right there on their job, looking at the phone the whole time, never looking up. Fine. But these are uniformed officers, and so they're, you know, they get tired. Maybe they have to call in. Maybe somebody has to fill in the shifts, and we need to have full staff. And maybe that has to be paid on overtime. So maybe ultimately it does cost the taxpayer extra overtime. So none of this can be ignored. So I just want to make sure the chair, I just want to express my thought in that regard.
My suggestion would be that we've tabled this a few times, and I think we need to table it again because more information has come out tonight. And I think we do need the auditor in, perhaps the acting chief, the treasurer, and someone from the city solicitor's office. So that would be my suggestion, that we table this another time, and then as soon as I'm able to, as chair, I will get this order on, and if I can pick a day that's feasible, maybe this is the only item or one of the few items that we'll have on that particular agenda, because there's a lot of questions. And I think they were good questions, good comments, but I don't want it to get away with having 5 other orders coming in. So maybe that's what we need to do.
I agree. I think that's a great suggestion.
Okay,
so I'll second your motion.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. So that's what I'll do. We'll reschedule this to another day, and I'll try to do it as soon as possible with just this information. And also, Councilor Bartley wanted a copy of the contract. And so if you could get that to our administrative assistant, and then he can parse that out to the other.
Oh, the list of the vendors.
And the list of the vendors as well.
Yep.
Okay, so thank you very much. And everybody all set? Okay, great. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
We have one more item, 5, and it was a order from Councilor Bartley, ordered that the city engineer redesign and DPW replace the traffic island proximate to 2 Brown Avenue, 274 South Street for the purpose of creating public parking spaces. This is the area that was left after the road work to alter Brown Avenue was completed, and it's in need of alterations. The plan to increase parking is supported by the affected residents, and it was referred to the city engineer, referred to finance. Councilor Bartley, the piece of paper that I gave you, I will need that back because it's part of my thing, but go ahead and the mayor left a notation on the order, if you want to read that. If you can, it was, I had a hard time reading his writing, but.
No, I really appreciate the chair bringing this up, and we had a good dialogue about this. It says contingent upon strategic direction of the DPW and available expropriation, I think.
I think that's,
it.
yeah.
And it's initial JG for the mayor.
Yep.
So, I mean, I don't know what the, I think this, you know, you can probably just say this is complied with for now. And then I believe this is in, I referred to the engineer. I hope the engineer can come back with a report on this at some point.
The interim engineer, Victoria? I think that's right, yeah.
Well, when I filed it, when I did this, it was.
There actually was an engineer. So we
okay,
can send-
September 5th, 23. Okay, I don't remember when I did it, but okay. So I knew it was a while ago. So does everybody know where this is? It's across the street from the General
Yes,
Cleaners?
that,
Yep.
Yeah, a little pocket.
Yeah.
And Counselor, jeepers, why am I blanking her name? Kevin.
Norris?
Yeah, Helen, Counselor Norris. Yeah, she did a great job in, you know, reconfiguring what was a really dangerous situation up there. And she led the charge with that, and the engineer at the time turned what was really a motocross route into, traffic calming thing. Well, now you've got 2 or 3 houses over there, and it's really tight for parking. It's really tight for turnaround. It's kind of become a quasi-park. It's maintained by one of our local vendors, and they do a nice job, but I think that the parking is more of a paramount issue in terms of those 3 or 4 houses that are there. And if we could just sort of reconfigure that park, that's what they're looking to do. So I think you can say this is complied with. We had a talk that hopefully down the road I'll get more dialogue from the engineer, and then once that comes, then we can refile it for a finance.
Okay. And we'll complied with, refer it to the mayor and interim engineer.
Yes, please.
Okay?
That's good.
Great.
That'll work.
Anybody have any questions or anything?
Nope, sounds
Okay. All those in favor
Aye.
of doing
Aye.
that? Aye. Okay.
Is that the end?
Motion to
Motion to
adjourn?
adjourn.
Do I
Second.
hear that? All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you
All right.
very much,
Have a
everybody.
wonderful
Everyone, have a good night.
Bye.